This audio presentation of Just Be Yourself by Marie S. Watts is brought to you by audioenlightenment.com. Copyright 2014, all rights reserved. Forward. I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me. Isaiah 45:5. This booklet is for those sincere students of truth who have, after years of seeking and searching, have failed to find the answers to many of their questions. Here the author has set forth the reasons why we have again and again declared the truth without the manifestation of perfection appearing. It is never the words you read that bring forth the realization of present perfection. Rather, it is what you read between the lines, the inner response of your own consciousness. This is the mind that you are recognizing itself, or self-recognition. The truth is revealed in these pages will help you to know and to be, and what you really and genuinely are. With this in mind, the author lovingly dedicates this booklet to you, the reader. Throughout the ages there have been those who have sincerely searched for the answer to their questions about God, man, and the universe. Today as never before, that search is intensified. Old theories have failed to satisfy or solve the problems of existence. The complex difficulties of the world today make it essential to find the solution by attaining a far greater insight into the spiritual nature of the universe and all it contains. Thousands upon thousands of words have been written and spoken about God, man, and the universe. For many years it has been known and acknowledged that the ills of man could be healed by a better understanding of God. Indeed, miracles have taken place through the sudden dawn of the light that this really is God's universe, and that perfection, and perfection only, could exist in a God-filled, God-controlled universe. Yet this question arises: why is it that these instantaneous healings are not consistent? The search for the answer to this and many other questions has kept the author constantly on the upward path for many years. If this were just another message on metaphysics, there would be slight reason for its being written. If the ultimate in spiritual understanding had been revealed, there would be no incentive for further search. The fact that the search continues is proof that this ultimate has not yet been reached. There is one right approach for each one of us. Most of us come up through many paths. We have found some truth here and some truth there, and it has all been good. We might ask ourselves these questions. Why is it we have continued on in our search? Why did we not stop when we found this way or that path? The answer is obvious. While some measure of healing and inspiration was realized through these steps along the way, yet there remained the unanswered question. Always we have known that the full light was yet to be revealed. What has caused the gap between the truth we have been declaring and the manifestation of perfection, joy, and fulfillment? There is an answer to this, and we are now about to discover just what this final barrier has been. We used to say God is all in all, and that is true as far as it goes, but it doesn't go far enough. We need to understand that God is all as all, and that there is none other but God. God is not only in the universe, God is the universe and all it contains. God is not only in man, God is all that exists of that which we call man. Reader, you will find in this message a call to come up higher. Your upward steps have been leading to this fuller revelation. The long search is drawing to an end. The revelation of the ultimate is present for those who are prepared to receive this glorious light. This ultimate permits no deviation from the one central fact that God is all that exists in the universe, and that which we call man. There is no place in this ultimate for dualism. There is no place for God and man. We do not speak of God in the universe or of God in man. Rather, we know God to be all that exists of the universe, including man. Just as long as we speak of God and man, we are speaking of two. This is duality, and you know what the Bible says about a house divided against itself. The belief of God and man, of God and something beside his allness, invariably leads to a sense of separation. Never will that sense of separation be dissolved until we are fully aware that we are never two, but one alone, and that one is God. Yes, dualism is the barrier to complete revelation. There can never be God and man, and God and anything else. God really is the all, the only, and there is nothing beside his allness. Along with this belief of separation, of two-ness, comes a twin belief that man can have an experience or condition apart from God. This condition or experience may be considered either good or bad. If good, we are inclined to give God the credit, and if bad, we have thought to have God remove it, heal it, or supply the answer in some way. Always, though, it has been as though there was a God who had to be appealed to in just the right way in order to solve our problems. We frequently hear it said, we have to live this truth. Well, that is a good statement as far as it goes. But who is it that has to live this truth? Who is it that has existence of himself or power of himself either to live it or not to live it? We have to ask ourselves some of these questions and find the answers if we are to have the revelation of one God and nothing beside this one. Know that the Lord, He is God. There is none else beside Him. Deuteronomy 4:35. This may appear at first glance to be too absolute for any practical use in everyday living. Before you jump to any such conclusions, let us examine some of the things we have been saying from the time we first started on the spiritual path. Again and again we have said, God is the only life, mind, substance, and being. But did we really mean all that this tremendous truth contains? How much greater would be the realization if we dwelt thoughtfully on that word only in the foregoing quotation? We often say these things without the full and complete realization of their meaning. Yes, God is the only life. Then we must ask this: what life lives but the life that is God? Who is it that has a life of his own apart from God? Is the life that is God separated in countless other lives? Does man live the life that is God, or does God live his own life as the life of all existence? These are searching questions, but until we follow these truths to the ultimate, the complete revelation will elude us. No longer can we just make statements and accept theories. When we say, I and my Father are one, let us know the full meaning of the statement. Let us follow it through to its glorious ultimate. Always we must go straight to the paramount truth that God, and God only, exists. Keeping this firmly established in consciousness, we realize first of all that we live. Do we live of ourselves? Do we have a life of our own separate from the one, all life? Knowing that God is the only life, we now see clearly that only God can live his own life. We can also realize that God life is being lived as the very life of you and me right here and now. Yes, I and my Father are one, and we can go farther than that. We can say with understanding, I and my Father are identical. From now on, every time you speak or think of your life, you will know that it is God life, eternal, beginningless, changeless, and endless. Now you can surely see that this life living as your life is never in danger, is never threatened, weakened, or any way limited. The question now arises, are you as a person living this life? No, not at all. You could have no existence, no life, unless it were God existing, God living as you. There is neither center nor circumference to God. His allness includes all. You are included in this allness. The allness of God life includes your life, and you could not possibly live or be alive as any other life. Does this mean that you must surrender your identity? No, quite the contrary. You discover your genuine identity. And this discovery is a most glorious experience. You now realize as never before that your identity is eternal. This light reveals that you are God identified as you. Never have you been another or other than that identity which you are at this moment. You are always you, and your identity is God identifying, individualizing himself as you. He is conscious of his life identified as your life, and this consciousness of life identified as your life is your consciousness of being alive. Now can you see the infinite power in the statement, God is my life? At this point you may be asking this question, does this revelation heal? The answer is an unequivocal no. Never in all eternity has there ever been a healing. Oh, we have called it a healing for want of a better word. Actually, revelation better describes that which takes place. That which we have thought to be healing was simply the revelation of that perfection which had always existed. Eternal perfection, identifying, individualizing, revealing, its changeless omnipresence, right where the difficulty had seemed to be. In other words, we have a revelation of that which is, rather than a healing of that which is not. Years ago, the author experienced the revelation of the tremendous power of this basic truth, the allness of God and nothing beside that allness. A call for help was received by one upon whom the death sentence had been pronounced. Dropsy had been diagnosed, and to a young practitioner the picture was appalling. Suddenly this question presented itself. If this condition is real, what can I do about it? Nothing. At once the glorious light dawned. Why, I can tell this one about the allness of God. No mention was made of the seeming condition. Instead, God, as the entire universe and all that it contained, was explained. Suddenly this woman who seemed so desperate caught the vision. Why, she exclaimed, that includes me. I am included in this perfect allness. Her face was alight with this new revelation. The next day came this glorious report. That spurious evidence was draining away through the pores of the skin. From that day unto this one, the only message that has interested the author is the allness of God and the nothingness of any other existence. Yes, God is all. God is in the all as the all. Neither person, place, nor thing can have existence, can be, unless it is God existing, God being. Within this allness is contained all individuality, all identity. Nothing individualizes itself but God. Nothing identifies itself but God. All individuality, all identity is eternal. Nothing is ever added to it. Nothing is taken from it. Neither can anything change or alter it. Now we can say with understanding, Ye are the temple of the living God, and the Lord is in his holy temple. Always remember this. The truth is the reality of anyone or anything. The truth is forever perfection and is established eternally. The truth of anyone is all that exists as the one. There cannot be one truth about you today and another truth about you tomorrow. Truth is what you eternally are, and truth is changeless. When you know the truth, you are knowing yourself. The only truth that is ever going to make us free is the truth that we are free, have always been free, and will ever be free. How many times have we known the truth about some situation, and yet the inharmonious appearance continued to mock us? Why? Because we were not really knowing all of the truth. For instance, were we knowing that the truth we were declaring was already true, even as we were declaring it? Or haven't we declared the truth hoping that in some way it would become true? There is a vast difference there, you know. Just as long as we know the truth in the hope that it will become true, we are not really knowing the truth at all. The only truth that exists has always been true, even before we knew it. Realizing this, instead of declaring the truth, we can simply say, Thank you, Father. I am the truth, and I am free. No delay, no looking for something to change or for perfection to come, just a quiet realization that thine is the kingdom, and that perfection is never changed into imperfection. Always keep in mind that this truth includes you, and that you include this truth. Also, the truth and its manifestations are identical. You are the truth, and you are also the manifestation of the truth. That is why you are so wonderfully perfect. When you know the truth, you are really knowing yourself. Yes, know thyself, and to thy own self be true. What is the truth about this self? In order to discover the answer to this question, you will need to go back to the basic principles of this whole approach. God is all as all. You can't be outside this allness, and you can't be inside this allness without being the very essence of God. Right here is where you will need to be very careful. Never believe for one moment that you, as a mortal, a human, or a person, can claim to be God. Always know that God, and God alone, is God. But you know that God does exist, and he does exist as something. He does indeed. He exists as you and as me, and as everyone who is existence. Remember, though, it is God existing as you, and not you existing as God. And above all, never think of yourself as a human, a mortal, or a matter being. We know that God is altogether spirit, mind, life, and truth, and that he could never exist as a human, a mortal, or a material being. It is only when all personal sense of self is obliterated that God speaks as you. Then and only then can God say as you, I am the presence of the power of God, and the power of the presence of God. Now you are prepared to know the truth about yourself. First of all, turn your thought completely to God. Dwell on his allness, and on his immutable perfection. Think of God as life. Know that this life must live, and does live, as the life of all that lives. Know that this life is living as your very life, right here and now. Yes, life without beginning, change, or end, is alive as your life and my life this instant. Life is God, and was never born, has never sickened, and can never die or come to an end. This is the truth about your life. Just about now you'll be questioning something like this. But what about all those who have died and are still dying? Let me assure you of one thing. No one who has ever lived has ever died. They only appeared to die. It is only an appearance, and they know that they have never died. The Bible said that the last enemy to be overcome is death, but this does not mean that death really takes place. It is the appearance of death that is to be overcome, and we will never overcome it by believing that it is happening or that it has happened. When the truth about life is clearly known, we will begin to see through this falsity about death. Then the promise will be fulfilled. Then shall there be no more death. All of this enters into the truth about yourself. You can begin right now to realize the eternal, indestructible life has always lived as your life, and this same life will always continue to live as your life. It is only as this life begins to be felt as your life that you can joyously exclaim, "Why, this is God, living his eternal life as me, as my life." This knowing of the truth is never done with a mental struggle. Rather, it is accomplished by a calm, peaceful contemplation. With no thought of healing, changing, or attaining, just continue on in this quiet exploration of God as all the life that lives. Presently, the truth will reveal itself as you, and as all there is of you. During this glorious experience, all sense of human existence is dissolved, but you are fully aware that you live, and that your identity is not changed and is not surrendered. No one can describe this experience, but this I can tell you. Once you have known the truth in this way, you will know that you are actually the truth you are knowing. So often in times of seeming stress we have said, God is the only mind. God is my mind. No greater statement of truth could be proclaimed, but has it always brought the joyous release? Sometimes it has helped, but so often the fear, worry, indecision, or frustration has continued to harass us. Why? Because we have not carried this tremendous statement of truth to its ultimate. What is the ultimate of this truth? Here again, as in every situation, we turn to the allness of God. All of us are agreed on one point. God is entirely perfect. An imperfect God is inconceivable to us. This all-perfect God is mind, and the only mind that exists. We must now ask ourselves this question. As mind, what does God know? Perfect mind knows itself and itself only. Unanswered questions, doubt, indecision, and fear are unknown to perfect mind. Is mind aware of you? Just as surely as you are aware of yourself, mind is aware of you. As God is the only mind, the mind with which you are aware of yourself is the mind that is God. With what other mind could you have self-knowledge? Mind is infinite and all-knowing. In mind is included all knowledge of all that exists. Mind, life, and being are not separated. There is no such thing as non-intelligent life, neither is there mind that is lifeless. Just as surely as you live, you think, and just as you have discovered that your life is God-life living, identifying itself as your life, now you can see that your mind is God-mind, identifying itself as your mind. Here we are on holy ground. We pause for a moment to ponder the tremendous power of this truth. Then the questions begin to present themselves. They are apt to be something like this. What about all those unkind, impure, fearful, unhealthy thoughts that continually recur to me? Surely that is not God thinking. No, the activity of God mind is forever pure, loving, and harmonious. Then the next question comes. But what mind does think these thoughts? Here we begin to arrive at the ultimate. No mind thinks these thoughts. They are not thinking, and they are not thought. You have no separate mind of your own capable of thinking such thoughts, and the mind that is God is of purer eyes than to behold evil. Again and again we have seen some appearance of growth of some abnormality of the body simply disappear. How was this done? By the clear realization that such a thing could not exist because it was no part of God. Yet we have gone right on accepting the belief that wrong thoughts did exist and have power. Let me tell you this. In the false sense of existence, there is no difference between a thought and a thing. An abnormal, unhealthy thought has no more reality, no more existence than has an abnormal, unhealthy body. Mind and body are not separate, they are one, and that one is God, forever perfect. Perfect mind is eternally aware of its perfection, and it is still the same awareness of perfection, individualized, identified as your mind. Who is it that has a mind apart or other than the one mind? There is no wrong thinker, and there are no wrong thoughts. Knowing this, we no longer watch our thinking or try to think right thoughts. We no longer fear or condemn unworthy thoughts. On the contrary, we turn with joy and freedom and say, I thank you, Father, that I know that I am pure with thy purity, whole with thy wholeness, and neither wrong thoughts or wrong conditions can exist as my mind or my body. There are some sincere students who are afraid of fearful thoughts. All of us have known those who are afraid of the thoughts of others. We know now that we never need to be afraid of our own thoughts or the thoughts of another. No matter how many identities or thinkers there may be, the same perfect mind is identifying itself as each and every one. Does this seem impractical to you? Just one example will suffice to illustrate the practicality of this truth in daily affairs. The author knows of a home in which inharmony, selfishness, jealousy, and even hatred seem to reign. To one who is unacquainted with the power of this ultimate, it would have seemed impossible that harmony could ever be established in the face of such overwhelming evidence. Yet though the revelation that there was one mind only, and that this same mind was identifying itself as each identity in that home, the seemingly impossible was accomplished. Today, complete harmony, cooperation, unselfishness, and love are firmly established where the inharmony had appeared to be. So much so that even the casual visitor senses it, responds to it, and comments on it. Mind knows no impossible situations. There are no evil thoughts, directed or undirected, for there is no mind that can think such thoughts. Of course, this does not mean that all false thoughts will immediately cease presenting themselves with your first realization of this truth. What it does mean is this: as you stop giving them any importance or honoring them by self-condemnation or fear, they gradually fade out. Instead of trying to control them, just turn to the mind that is God, knowing all the while that this mind is your mind, and the only mind that exists as your mind. Make no denials or affirmations. Just rest thankfully in this consciousness. You may have to do this again and again, but you can be sure of one thing. You are realizing more and more just what it means to say, God is my mind, and the false belief of a mind other than God will present itself less and less. Finally, it will no longer make any claims upon your attention. Frustrations, fear, indecision, and worry are then a thing of the past, and you will not even remember them. Yes, when the one mind identified as all is revealed, so-called miracles take place. The author once knew a man who was confined in a mental institution. The diagnosis was violent and incurable insanity. His wife appealed for spiritual help. A consecrated practitioner was called in the evening. The next morning this man was found to be completely normal. When the author last saw him, he was living a useful and happy life. Let us pause here and meditate upon the foregoing experience. Was this man healed? Was an abnormal mind changed overnight into a normal mind? No. The clear insight of the practitioner simply revealed the one mind, God mind, as the only mind identified, individualized as his mind. Nothing was changed or healed. If his mind had ever been abnormal, it would always have been abnormal, and it would still be abnormal, for mind is God and eternally changeless. Furthermore, the mind identified as the practitioner was the same God mind identifying itself as the so-called patient. This explains that which has been called absent treatment. Actually, there is no such thing as an absent treatment. The mind identified as the practitioner's omnipresent mind, and the only mind that can be individualized throughout infinity and eternity. This is the mind of you and the mind of me, and there is no other mind. Reader, do you realize that the mind that is writing this booklet is the mind that is reading it? Within your mind exists every truth contained within these pages. It is only necessary for you to discover it right where it has always been, in and as God mind, identified as your mind. No matter what difficulties may be confronting you, there is a way to see through them. The allness, the onlyness of God in you, your entire life, mind, body, and being, included in and as this allness. Yes, God is one indivisible omnipresence. There is no such thing as the all of God here, a little of God there, and none of God some other place. The all of God is present, and all that is present everywhere and eternally. Neither is it possible that God could have been omnipresent yesterday, last week, last month, or last year, and failed to be omnipresent this instant. Perfection is not to be attained at some future time or place. Perfection is right now, just where you are and what you are. Yes, infinite life, mind, body is perfect, and as present as your life, mind, and body. The truth is given here is no mere theory. Again and again it has revealed its truth as the light dawned, and freedom and perfection were discovered to be right where bondage and imperfection had appeared to be. It is impossible within the pages of this booklet to expand further on this ultimate revelation. In her forthcoming book, the author will explain more completely the omnipotent, omnipresent of perfection. In closing, know thyself, and you will discover that the self is God and God only, identifying, individualizing, revealing His perfect being as you. When you know yourself, you know God, and when you know God, you know yourself. End of booklet. This audio presentation of Just Be Yourself by Marie S. Watts has been brought to you by AudioEnlightenment.com. Copyright 2014. All rights reserved.